The air we breathe is not empty. It's a shifting field of molecules, reactions, and invisible signals that shape how we live, breathe, and move through our spaces. Most of the time, we never see it. We only feel the consequences. VAYLO-NODE begins here, at the threshold between the visible and the chemical. It is an analytical instrument built to translate the invisible chemistry of your room into actionable data. It doesn't look at the weather outside. It looks at the atmosphere not as weather, but as behavior. Even though it has the familiar look of a finished professional hub, the internal engineering is a complete departure from traditional electronics. There are no standard green circuit boards inside this frame. And for something built so differently, its construction is surprisingly straightforward. All you need is a basic 3D printer, or access to one, to build this at home from a few simple parts. This isn't something you buy, it's something you build. To measure the air, you must first respect its movement. The VAYLO-NODE enclosure isn't just a shell, it's a controlled environment. Instead of forcing the air through narrow channels, the chassis uses open intake points at the front and top, allowing the sensor to breathe the same air you do. A printed internal wall separates the sensor bay from the heat of the OLED and the microcontroller, ensuring the readings reflect the room, not the electronics. By creating a thermal barrier and a clear path for passive airflow, the data remains pure, protected from the turbulence and heat of its own components. This is not a gadget, it's an instrument body. At the heart of VAYLO-NODE is a pairing designed for environmental clarity. The ENS160 acts as an electronic nose, detecting volatile organic compounds, responding to hydrogen concentration, and estimating CO2 levels based on real chemical activity, not assumptions. What makes this sensor unique is its integrated sensor fusion and automatic baseline correction. It doesn't just read raw data, it understands it, learning the chemistry of your specific environment to maintain accuracy without manual calibration. It is paired with the AHT21 for real-time temperature and humidity compensation. Because air chemistry is never static, it shifts with ventilation and human presence. The AHT21 establishes the physical state, while the ENS160 interprets the chemical story layered on top of it. Together, they form a two-layer understanding of the atmosphere, what the air is, and what the air is doing. It's not just measurement, it's context. To process this continuous stream of chemical data, VAYLO-NODE utilizes the ESP32S3. The S3 handles the complex baseline algorithms and transforms raw electrical signals into a meaningful environmental profile, a quiet, continuous pulse of your room's chemistry. Inside VAYLO-NODE, the electronics follow a principle that defines this entire ecosystem. Structure becomes the wiring. The 3D-printed PCB routes signal paths not as etched traces, but as physical channels and anchors that hold the circuit in place. It's a board without a board, a design where geometry replaces traditional copper routing and the printed structure carries the logic. Modules press into mechanical sockets and wires follow carved channels, a clean physical logic that replaces industrial waste with architectural intent. Print the body, route the wiring paths, secure the ESP32S3, mount the sensors, seat the OLED, close the enclosure, an instrument built from first principles. If you want a deeper look at how these printed PCBs are wired, I've made a separate video that walks through the technique step by step. It's linked in the description. Air is dynamic. It expands, contracts, reacts, and decays. VAYLO-NODE doesn't chase numbers. It observes patterns. VOC spikes that trace cooking, cleaning, or human presence. Slow declines that mark the return to equilibrium. The S3 processes this data into a signal that feels less like telemetry and more like a pulse, a living readout of the room's chemical state. It is a quiet, continuous awareness of the air you inhabit, a presence that listens, interprets, and reports without demanding attention. Information this vital shouldn't stay on a tiny screen. Designed to speak through MQTT, the VAYLO-NODE utilizes this specialized, lightweight language trusted by millions of IoT devices. Because it's so efficient, it can broadcast data constantly without taxing the system. Think of it like a digital notice board inside your home. The node posts its readings to a specific topic on that board, and anything you choose can read it. I've built a real-time MQTT visualizer on my website, a place where any topic can come alive as a graph. Simply enter your node's unique topic, and the invisible chemistry of your room becomes a living, breathing graph. No third-party apps, no subscriptions, no data leaving your front door unless you choose to send it. It is a tool designed to be part of your infrastructure, not a slave to someone else's cloud. We spend most of our lives indoors, breathing air shaped by materials and routines we rarely think about. VAYLO-NODE exists to make that invisible world visible, not with drama, but with clarity. It's not a purifier, it's not a gadget, it is an open instrument, the antidote to the disposable black boxes of modern tech. It reflects a repairable culture, a quiet rejection of disposable hardware in favor of instruments you can service and truly own. And if you want to see where this philosophy came from, how this approach to open, printable instruments took shape, I've made a separate video that walks through the full story. You'll find it in the description. This is VAYLO-NODE, a device that doesn't just measure the environment, it interprets it. If you have a 3D printer, the files, the wiring maps, and the firmware are available on my site. Build the instrument, take the pulse of your room, and start seeing the invisible. This node is part of the Vanguard Tier, a growing family of applied instruments. If you want to explore the other nodes in this tier, the links are in the description. If you want to follow the evolution of this system, consider subscribing. And if you know a fellow maker who would appreciate this design, feel free to pass it along. Thanks for watching. I hope this inspires you to build tools you can understand, repair, and truly own.